the flow of doing things.
Okay,
And I think he could really help her.
okay. Now uh, this girl we're talking about, 13-year-old, maybe she's in her last year. You 13. She's trying out. She's knock-kneed.
Oh, yeah.
She can't cross over. So, Tom, what was the name of the person you suggested to help?
Gaston Schaefer, my skating coach. You
Okay.
know Gaston,
Yes. Okay.
because I bet you it's more about her shoulder turning to the inside so she falls into the turn and not trying to, step over with her legs.
Hmm.
A lot of people try to turn by stepping over with their legs,
Yeah.
but if your shoulders are forward, your legs hit each other. So as soon as you lean, you turn.
Mhm.
Like Roots and Landon used to skate around with his hand on the ice and stick facing the dot. He'd skate around the dots. That's his dad was a skating coach or something,
Yeah.
just to get that body to turn. I bet you that's what she's not doing.
Well, Tom, she is the most knock-kneed skater I've ever seen, ever.
Yeah.
And and you know what we say about knock-kneed skaters, they can't play. So, Hell, have you ever worked with a knock-kneed skater, and what did you do?
I'll have to think about that. We've had railroad trackers, not much you can do with them. They, they, I mean, depends how old they are because their habits are pretty ingrained. But I agree with Tom. She needs some reorganization of how her body parts connect,
Yeah.
shoulders, knees, head, all that kind of stuff. It'd be worth a session or two to go try it and um, and see what the result is. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's real tough.
Your mom was such a great skater too.
Yeah.
My advice, having watched her, was don't worry about the crossover. Scooter out of turns. Make a good head fake and use that outside edge to get moving. And once she gets moving, she can stride. Like it's really handicapping you, but um, it's something that you know the mom is an ex national team prospect has played with and worked with, and she's going to see Marcel Lacroix, speed skating coach. Well, all they do is cross over. But I'm going to definitely recommend Gaston, and I think that's worth a try. Now,
Well, he's got a doctorate in body mechanics too, so
yeah,
he I'm sure he can help her. I just gotta zip out for a minute here.
okay. Well, I'm glad Hell's on because Hell, you sent an email to Tom and I.
Yeah.
You were talking about this coach who had great playing experience.
Yep.
Uh, I'm not sure if he's college educated, but to you, he seemed like a real good coach, but the parents can't handle him anymore.
Well,
And I
yeah,
wonder if you could
this was
describe that.
girls high school,
Yeah,
and the coach is female, and yeah, she played Division I hockey. Um, she coached at another high school and then left there and came to this particular one. Um, and the mother tells me that a lot of the kids are thinking of quitting, especially, it wouldn't be your top six, but below that, because number one, they're not having any fun. And, you know, they've got some kids that are D1 bound, but they can't wait to get out and get going, get away. And, this is, I talked to this gal about it for a while. I said, "What have you done about it?" I said, "Well, I've talked to the athletic director, and you our athletic directors don't particularly know much about hockey,
yeah,
and they don't know how to they don't know how to evaluate their own employees, basically.
yeah.
And and I get it. They are so overworked and underpaid. It's just and they come from one sport, typically football or basketball, and hockey gives them the biggest most amount of heartburn usually. Um, so I just think it's super sad for those kids. It's that. But when I met Sammy when Sammy was coaching the Toronto Six, or she was president or general manager
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, and they were in town. I went over to see them, and they were all in a hotel restaurant waiting to bus over to the airport and fly back to Toronto. And I met the coach, and I think, and Sammy actually in a conversation told me that at mid-season the coach didn't even know the name of the players, and frankly didn't care.
Wow.
So, anyways,
Well, hell, that girl, when you described it, I sent you a reply.
you did.
And what gets players, the bottom six, to lose interest is they don't get to play.
Right.
They don't play power play, they don't play penalty kill, and they
Yep.
miss ice time that helps them develop. So they're not having fun.
Right.
Now, it sounds like that's her problem. She's coaching to win, not
Yep.
develop, and doesn't realize that. How soon you started in the season will determine whether they want to play for you or not.
Yeah.
So, is that a factor? Does she create power play people from the get go and they play both PK and PP?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to ask, but it's probably, she's probably playing her top six. But then the comment is, and this came from your session last week. I watched, the room, how important the room is. And the room is toxic because, they're, she's working them hard in the locker room. And, you, you gotta earn your ice time. And, and that's great. But what does that mean? Earn your ice time. And, I've seen this happen with other coaches too, even going back into the 70s. I'm going to give you a chance to show me what you can do. And you get two shifts at the end of the third period, and no comment ever from the coach. And then, and it's like, what? I mean, anyways, those were the days.
Well, I think that's the crux of the minor hockey and competitive hockey problem.
Yeah,
Some teams are one line teams,
yeah,
two line teams. Teams that use their third and fourth lines in a way they feel valued, part of the team, are going to be successful. So it's not rocket science to see why they're quitting, and the coach has to get the message. But we've encountered this in Calgary in our organization. I asked a coach who's been promoted to coach the AAA team. I asked him when he was coaching U15 what his purpose was, what was the reason for coaching. And he said to get as many players to make the AAA team as possible. And I said, to myself, I didn't say to him, well, that's wrong. Because his method is to double shift those people
yeah,
at the expense of everybody else's development and building a team. And he is a successful competitive coach. But if that's the way we want coaches to coach, saying, well, that's elite hockey, well, even elite hockey, that loses. It may get you up there and get you recognized, get you scouted, but that's my opinion. It it loses the team. and it creates that toxic environment where you've got groups in the team that don't communicate with one another. So does that make sense?
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You know, what's happened here, I don't know. I think I sent you the article I wrote, oh God, 15 years ago. Cold, dry hands, how short is your
Yes.
bench?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's happened in since then is that in minor hockey here, they only have three lines and 5D, and which is great on the first day of the season until one of the kids gets sick or two of them get the flu or or get hurt or in today's world go on vacation during the season and all of a sudden now you're down to 11 or 12 kids, and then you push those, that fourth line skater drops down to the next level, which is probably okay, but most of the teams don't roster 17 skaters. And so it eliminates some of that short bench stuff, although you can still go to two and leave one line on the bench.
So
And
you
they
don't
do
have
it.
affiliates?
No, once our rosters are set, the only thing we can do is bring up a goalie if our goalie is injured or sick. And a lot of the teams only have one goalie too. And I'm only going to have, well, we have for our high school program, we're going to have three goalies for two teams. And I don't know what they're going to have at the U15 level, but my Bantam team last year had two goalies.
Yeah.
And the Pee Wees the year before, but one of them was hurt for 2.5 months. So we literally had one goalie the whole time.
Well, I can see that three lines if you have affiliates, three lines if your games are only 45 minutes long, because they're getting, that's 15 minutes. Because we have four lines, but we play 60-minute games all the time. So the kids are
Yeah.
getting 15 minutes. But if you don't have affiliates, boy, that's pretty tough.
Oh
Tom,
yeah, I mean, and it's hard to practice too. I mean, it's hard to practice with 2.5 lines.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, you burn them up
That's why
really fast.
I like four lines, and then I like to bring up affiliates so I have 8D, and then I can do everything.
Yeah.
And I have these young coaches with me, so they play a lot of my practice. Just so
guys, I want to get back to the shortening of the bench here. And Tom, when I do coaching clinics, the first question I ask, how many forwards do you have and how many D? And yes, hell, sometimes there's an injury and you got 8 forwards, not 9. So I'm asking both of you, how would you manage the forward bench with 8 forwards?
I would run. So the way I do that um, is we just rotate um, the other two through the lines. And, so you run the other two lines out, and then, the next rotation, one of them sits and one of those other two skaters goes in. It's a little bit, you got to kind of keep track because sometimes some of them will sit out or they'll kind of hide from you on the bench so you don't sit them out for somebody else. But you
two
can
lines
work,
of four.
you can work them in. So,
Yeah.
So you basically have two lines of four.
yes. And then maybe in the
Guys,
third line, we'll do it with, we'll have, I'll use the wings to start with, and then go into the centers maybe in the third period. I mean, depends how the game's going.
like my system is 2 rights first period, 2 left second, 2 left wingers, and 2 centers a third. But they all get equal fair ice time, and you end up with centers in the third being fresh, and
Yeah,
you can play with 2. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
yeah,
Well,
And
both styles, everybody's got the same ice, so they're both good.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
As long as you don't say, okay, well, you two sit and enjoy the game.
But that's
yeah,
why when you do the math of rolling the sets, three sets of wingers around two
Two
sets,
center.
two centers, it amounts to 300 minutes of ice time a year. And that, how are you gonna? You're losing that out on that ice time, let alone every power play and every penalty kill. And to me, it's a no-brainer. But to some people, I'm the crazy guy. And like when I read that article, hell, it just to me, she's shortening the bench. She's not managing it. The difference with managing is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And Tom, you did something last year. You, in theory, now I've given in to rolling your lines the first half and creating rolls in the second. But I don't mind rolling the line the whole season and making sure you get the right people out on power play. But wow, to me that's the problem is they're just double shifting the best players and shortening the bench and people quit. Tom, I
We
thought,
rolled the line. We rolled the lines all season.
yep,
We just gave everybody on the team had 1 month on the power play and 1 month on the penalty kill because with that amount of players, with having 18 skaters, you can do that.
yeah,
So we had two power plays and a couple of penalty kill, and then coming into the playoffs and that, we knew who our best power play people were and all this kind of stuff. And even doing that, you got some players that could play the power play,
yeah.
but at some point you got to solidify some things. But as far as the 5-on-5, we just rolled the lines.
Yeah. Well, Tom, Craig complimented you because he said during the season you did that. He wouldn't have, had the third and fourth lines play power play in the second half, I don't think. And you did. You gave them the opportunity to still play. So they can't complain. They can't be unhappy. But it's sort of 6-1, half dozen of another. It's a double-edged sword. If you
Well, you don't
roll,
want kids going to the next level and say, I've never played the power play.
yeah,
So they all get a month at it. So for 1 month they get the instructors, all the coaching and they practice it and all this kind of stuff. We ended up with two penalty killers that the other team could hardly even get out of their end on, including Red Deer. That because they were so fast and so smart, and they probably both could have played the power play, but they were so good on the penalty kill.
yeah. Well, I think
I mean, some
I'm
kids,
glad.
some kids that depending on what age they are, they don't want to be on. They don't want to play penalty kill, and they don't particularly want to be on the power play. I've had kids
Yeah,
like that, and I had one go out. I had her go out anyways, and because I said, it's a good experience for you. I mean, it's an invitational tournament. It was no, it's not,
yeah.
and sure, she froze up, and they beat her 2-on-1 coming out of the corner and scored and won the game. It was an overtime, but I could be criticized for doing that. But I think what I learned from it is when I asked her to go out, she said, "No, I don't want to go."
How old was
And I
she?
said,
Yeah.
Help.
"Oh, probably peewees, so that's 12, 13."
Well, we just do it so it's your month, so they're not
Yeah,
like maybe in the playoffs they might not want to go or whatever. But
yeah,
by that time they kind of have their role. It's hard though. Some kids don't want to, like some kids don't want to do the shootout because they're
oh yeah.
nervous they're going to screw up, you know. And
Well, the goalies usually win those. I mean, that's
because the kid lost a puck on the way down the ice.
Well, you guys, shootouts, you got players that want to be the guy or girl.
yeah,
And I know in Nagano when Canada lost to the Czechs, Gretzky didn't want to do the shootout, and he didn't. It's not the coaches. It's not the coaches didn't want him to. They wanted him to. He didn't. So my point, Hal and Tom, is those players.
Never heard that before, Wally. I've always wondered why they wouldn't play Gretzky on the shootout.
And that's why I was there, and I talked to Bobby Clark, who was managing the team after, and that's what he said. And so but
But I got to change my theory of the worst coaching move in the history of hockey then, because I've always said not having Gretzky shoot in the shootout.
no, I know that.
I saw him score against the Flames 900 times on breakaways.
Yeah. But you see, at some point, whether it's Gretzky or your girl, Hal, that you're talking that didn't want to go out,
Yeah.
they have a fear. They lack belief and confidence.
Yeah.
And as coaches, our job is to transmit belief and build confidence. So, however young they are, however encouraging you can be, it makes a difference. And
Yeah.
one of the things I want to mention, when players get selected to go to a national camp, 80% of the forwards are all center icemen. And they got to play wing now. And they're not going to be power play or penalty kill necessarily.
Wally, I heard that this camp they're having in next week,
Yeah.
they're bringing a whole bunch of guys, the Olympic guys like Crosby and all those guys, and they do that on that too. They have to play wing. I heard they're not going on the ice.
No, they can't.
They're not allowed on the ice? Because I was looking so much forward to go watching them, but now they're just going to go meet each other or something, I guess.
Well, in 2010,
Barbecues.
I watched Mike Babcock with them on the ice, without ice, doing D-zone walkthroughs
Yeah.
and forecheck.
And then none of them had ever seen those either before, I bet you.
I don't know. It's just that on the walkthroughs, I questioned what Babcock did on the D-zone cover. And anyway, that's all they did, and they'll do pretty well. Like, when you get the best players in the world, they figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I think that brings up a discussion about the modern trend in D zone. And you could see Canada win that Four Nations Cup on, I thought, was a poor way to play in the D zone. Because Marner has a puck below the goal line, and the D's on him. And he skates up towards the hash, and the D dropped him. And now the centerman, Matthews, leaves McDavid wide open to go cover Marner.
Yeah.
And I had a good talk with Mike Kennedy about this, because they switch, and the switching low leaves someone wide open. They pass to McDavid and he buries it. And we both said, if you're on a guy, you got to stick on, you don't drop him. Maybe do the switching up above the top of the circles, but down low, you can't do a switch because the guy's open for a few seconds. And that, they're doing that zone coverage now. Everybody has a zone, and they do a lot of switching low. And to me, I don't think you should switch when you're low.
well, Tom, for years we've taught in the D zone, it's man on man when it should be, and zone when it should be. And if you're the D on the winger or the player with the puck, you stay with them. But if you can't stay with them, then the forward has to take them. But the priority.
I agree. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the D had him, and the D dropped him.
You let him go. Yeah.
And Matthews leaves, and everybody's, yipping at Matthews, but he's following that style they were playing. They were doing a low switch. And
no, I totally,
like you said, you should stay and finish the play.
Yes. You got to finish a check before the hash mark is the rule I had. If you can't, then you switch.
Yeah.
But D1, the first player has to pressure the puck sooner. You can't give them time to make a play like that. I agree with you. Um, that's what happens, and um,
Everybody went to that zone thing, eh?
yeah.
And I think that's a weakness in that style, doing a low switch.
Well, Vancouver was the first team to play man on man years ago, and players would come to the bench after they got a goal scored on them, and all the players would say, "Well, I had my man." So they didn't really read the play, and they have to switch. You have to switch at times, but you don't switch as a rule automatically. It's got to be relative to the are you closest? Do you
Yeah.
have to switch? And that's a really good point. I think D zone cover and Tom, you were very good at it. It's just an area that can win you games and win you championships. And uh, what's the saying about winning games and winning championships? Defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's conventional wisdom. And when you pick a team, you start with a goalie,
yeah,
then you pick the D, then the center, then the wings. That's all conventional wisdom
yeah,
because that's what we're going to be going through next week.
yeah. And that's even true, Tom, at your level, because those players that you're picking them, they're going to give you the best results right now, but they've still got to develop over the course of the year. And I'm not sure, Tom, how many players you had last year that became your better players during the year. How many were there? That
Well, the young ones, when you make it first year, you're probably more talented, right?
yeah,
Because you beat out a whole bunch of second years,
yeah.
but you're not as physically mature, so you grow for 6 months. And a lot of my first years were at the top of the team by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And like that one girl, she grew 4 inches during the season. And it's a huge difference between a eighth grade and a ninth grade. Like in Alberta, they're all in junior high, grade 7, 8, 9. But in most places, ninth graders are in high school, right? Like in Minnesota there, And I think ninth graders are young women, and eighth at the start of the year, the kids in grade 8, they're only 13. They're still girls. So there's a lot of change. I don't think that should be an age group. I think 12 and 13, and then 13, 14, like grade 9 and 10 should be together in age groups.
That makes sense.
But
That makes
I
sense.
don't think Hockey Canada is going to do that because I think it. But
Oh,
anyways,
I never thought of that. I think that's brilliant, Tom.
well, I taught junior high for 22 years.
Yeah,
So I'm a little aware of the difference. Like a grade 9 is a totally different animal than a grade 7 and 8. Mature wise, I mean, they're young ladies. And a lot of them are as tall as they'll ever be in their life. Some of the grade 8s we had a girl that was, already tall, and she's the only one not coming back. And and she dominated when she was U13 because she was way bigger than everybody, but not very much game sense. And she's the only one she's leaving to the Super League. So she'll get super coaching and super everything. But I think her parents were really upset, thinking she should have been on the ice all the time in every situation. But that's the thing. You got some early matures, but now on the average, there's a big difference between an eighth and a ninth grader.
well, you guys, I didn't know who would be on today, but I wrote down, Hal, I wanted to talk about that coaching complaint, and we addressed that. And we've gone into a lot of other areas that I know I want coaches to hear. Uh, I love the D zone, staying with your man and not switching. And we're preparing for the season. And the first thing you do during the year, what do you guys do? I know what I do with the team, but what do you do, Hal? What strategy or area of work do you work on early in the year? And Tom, are you working
Uh, go
offense,
ahead, Tom.
defense?
Well, I like to take my big magnetic board out. It's, big, and I got the old tabletop hockey players with magnets on their feet and walk through the stuff and then physically walk with them. But last year I made a bad mistake. We're out and it's a really hot day. So the wasps are around, right?
I
Oh,
So if there's any
remember
food,
this.
if there's any food or anything, the wasps come around. So I got there's no table. So I get two garbage cans from inside the rink. And we're out in the kind of shade. But I didn't look in the garbage cans and there's rotten food in the garbage cans.
oh,
So I got
Jesus.
all the players around. And now the wasps come, eh? And a couple of the girls got bit. I said, come on, no. I'm sitting there not being very nice. And they're yelping and yelping because it hurts if you get bit by a wasp. So two or three girls got bit. So that wasn't a good coaching strategy. But then I walk them through, our forecheck and our D zone. And I think on that D zone about when the zones, the NHL, they really don't want the D out at the point. So if you got a player and they're heading towards the blue line with the puck, then I think you can hand them off to the winger, and then the centerman go out and the D stay low. But down low, I don't think you can switch, and that's where all the switching started. They did, with all the play now up when they made the zone bigger up top there. Now there's so many things that happen up by the blue line that never used to happen. On the face off, the forwards going out there, and taking shots. There's three players on the point, stuff like that. But anyways, I walked them through like that. And what I like to take a game time and not get a game and have a break in the middle. So they get 2.5 hours of ice time. So go halfway, have a break, get a flood, talk to them a little more, and go over a lot of team play right there. So they've all heard the language, they all know what the terms mean. And then last year, what I did is I also met with the parents and I went over our team play. So there's not some experts saying we don't know what the hell we're doing. And, so that's where I progressed to. How about you, Hal?
Hal, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, every year is a little different depending on what team I'm coaching. I seem to be coaching a different one every year. And as a result, I don't know the players. Last year was the first year I knew half the players because I'd coached them the year before. This year I won't know any of them. And so we will that first week. We have actually 2 weeks of practice. And then we start scrimmaging. We have a scrimmage day. So you play two or three 20 minutes get scrimmages against other teams. And then we go right into the season. So I will spend time with the kids. I mean, initially, so they get out of school and they come right to the rink, and our ice time starts like right away. So the first practice was I'm going to have to walk them through the format of how we practice and why a little bit, but we're gonna practice and we're gonna get going. And then I'm gonna start keeping them after practice for an hour and do, systems or we want, get to know them. And then I'll have I'll have one of the well, I'm not sure if we have a team manager or whatever for a junior varsity, but I'm going to try to set up individual meetings between myself and with my assistant coach and each player, or maybe two players at a time, just to get to know them and for them to get to know us because there'll be two new coaches for them too. And that works pretty well. I did that with the 15s a few years ago, and we had three coaches and we had three players, and we had pizzas in the middle of the table. And we would have actually we'd only do with we had to do it 5 times to get all the kids through. But we'll have to see what happens here. But it's going to be some sort of a version of that. I don't know if I will meet with parents or not because I know the whole team, because the varsity coach considers the varsity as part of the team. They'll have a parent meeting, but I don't, at this point, I don't know other than don't ever call me or email me during the season. Did I send you that thing? I don't know if I did or not, but his deal is if there's a problem, I want an email from your daughter to the coaches. And if there's an issue, let's see how has he got this email has to come from the daughter requesting a meeting, and we'll invite the parents to the meeting. And then he lists all the things we won't talk about, like what line you're on, ice time, um, special teams, stuff like that. But for the parents, because they like to send you an email going, "Oh, I haven't said anything to my daughter or my son or whatever. Well, I'd really like to have a meeting." And that has to come in and will be shared with all the coaches and the athletic director with, again, all the list of things that we aren't going to talk about, but happy to talk about anything else. And in 2 years, he's had no requests from parents for, for a meeting.
Well, I know that's
I don't,
kind of how
I
that.
don't know if that's good or bad, but it does rein in the crazies a little bit. So
Well, we have such a different way to do it because of the it's different than any other team I've ever coached. I mean, in college, you have them 4 times a week. You can do so much on
yeah,
ice and all that kind of stuff. But with this, because we have to free up the kids that don't make it so they can go for other tryouts for the community. So we have to
okay,
pick our team so early. We're over a month away from the start of our season. We got our team already. So we play exhibition games, and then we have this, we're called the Fire. So we have this Fire Starter tournament. We play 4 games near the end of September. And then we go to Kelowna, which is a 7 or 8 hour drive.
hmm,
So on that drive, I meet at the front of the bus with all the players because now
yep,
I know a little bit about them. And last year we played 5 games in 3 days, I think, or maybe it was 4. I can't remember. So then we play all those games. Then we come back. Then we start our season mid-October or something like that.
hmm.
So I've never coached a situation before. Like you pick your team so early. So
Yeah, we
totally
go
different than you,
we
where you
do it in
got,
3 days.
yeah, you do everything. But a lot of teams I've coached, that's what you do. But
Yeah,
this is, the way they organize it.
yeah. I mean, and we don't start till October 30th,
Yeah. Well, we
but that's
start
high
next.
school rules.
We have a coach meeting on Friday, and then
Yeah.
our tryouts start. There's 120 kids trying out,
Hmm.
I guess. So they make 8 teams, play 2 games, cut it to 6 teams, 2 games. Now 4 teams, they play 2 games. So we've seen kids play 6 times now. And then we have the draft of 3 teams, but they each 25 each. So it's 5 extra players. And then we
Yeah.
have, I don't know, a week or two to cut it down to 20 players. So
Hmm.
it's a
So
long drawn out process, that's for sure.
one of
And
the
I still
one of the
make
things that
mistakes.
what I've done in the past is we use on ice timing uh, on a top speed acceleration and then an S turn coming out of neutral ice, sort of bottom of the circle, top of the circle into the corner. And we use electronic timing lights. And there's a lot of data around this. Jack Blatherwick, who trained the Gophers and then the Olympic team in 1980, he came up with this, and he's got data that's well, it goes all the way back to 1980, and then there's a couple other groups in town that have been doing it, and so you can look at a kid's scores and then say, okay, well, here's what pro players do, here's what college kids do, here's what high-end high school kids do, and here's where you fit. Um, and I did this, oh gosh, back in the 80s when I was coaching in Edina, Bantams. I did it. We did it last year with all of our Bantam players. Now we didn't use it to pick the teams. They weren't. It wasn't an element of the scoring. But when you get done and you look at it, it's right on.
A
The kids that
knock-kneed
skate.
girl have trouble with that one.
What's that?
The knock-kneed girl would have trouble with that S turn.
Yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, we did it last year and I looked at those and of all the kids and I go, well, we got the best skaters on the A team, that's for sure. Now are they the best hockey players? Mm,
Yeah.
fortunately, one of them left 2 weeks into the season because he wouldn't pass the puck to anybody. But he was the highest rated player in our tryouts.
That's what
But
Johanna used to say. Sometimes it's better that someone that isn't the fastest player because they get the puck all the time if they're just going to give it away. He said it'd be a lot better if they just got the puck and passed to their D at the far blue line. At least you got five players in front of the puck.
yeah,
They go stick your talent down and lose it and trapping a bunch of your players.
I know. I mean, the fun part about all this is there's no best way to do it. And everybody's got a slightly, you got 120 kids or whatever. When I was coaching Bantams in Edina, we had 145 kids try out.
Yeah.
And
It's funny how, sorry, go ahead.
go.
It's funny how the elite players somehow, there's just something about them that, because I remember when Danny Heatley was 14 and kids said, he's not a great skater, blah, blah, blah. And this guy'd always say he'll never, even though he scored like crazy, because he's not a great skater, he's never going to go anywhere and all this kind of stuff. And I remember telling the guy, I said, he's going to make the NHL and he's going to be a star. And then this kid that was playing in the World Championships that Wally and I coached,
Mhm.
he was so better of a skater than everybody else. And he made the right play all the time. And I remember, and he was only like 95 pounds, 5 feet, 5'1" or something. And you got kids over 6 feet in Bantam, right? And I talked to this scout from Seattle, and I said, you better get this kid because he's going to be the best player in this whole, the tryout, And he grew really slow. He didn't get drafted till his second year of the draft. And now he's 6 feet, 195, and he was playing for Canada at the World Championships, and there's something about these players. They make the right play every time. I had a kid last year that if she grows, she could be one of those kind of players.
Yep.
The right play every time, read the play, one-on-ones. And then in the
Yep.
provincial, she's diving down, blocking half the shots. It was just
Jeez.
incredible. And we named her our MVP.
What do
And
what do you
some
do to
players just play
teach
the
them?
game way better.
What do you do to teach them to block shots?
Well, the first thing I do is, like if you're in the corner and the D is going out, you can't go out from the corner. You got to go get in line first. So
Yeah.
you're blocking from the net out. That's the most important thing, so that you're between them and the net.
Yeah.
I don't like players going down when you're going out to the point.
All
Maybe you
right.
go
No.
down on one knee close, in the slot because it's a bigger
Yeah.
surface.
Yeah.
And what the NHL's doing now, they're going down and they're taking away the far corner so that the
Hmm.
goalie covers half the net, so that they shouldn't get scored on the short side. and
Right.
the D is going down so that if you shoot in the far corner, you're going to hit the D maybe a little bit on a, it's pretty hard to judge exactly when you're going out to block, but that's kind of what they try to do. So they go down on one knee and the goalie's got to protect, just like playing a 2-on-1 and everything, right? Have the goalie cover half the net and take away
Yeah.
that pass across and all those sort of things.
Yeah. But they don't like to block shots. Girls don't, especially. But the boys don't either. I mean, because they don't want to get hurt. And I know I've got foam rubber pucks to take out to practice. You can use tennis balls because a lot of it's about timing,
Yeah.
and getting into position, um, so, or getting behind an opponent and get them in front of the shot coming in.
Well, I
But
know. Remember how crappy the shin pads used to be and that leather thing
yeah,
instead of a. So I remember once blocking a shot and it's split, the tibia split,
yeah,
and I was bleeding. I needed 5 stitches.
yeah,
And another time I blocked a shot, it hit that leather thing, and
yeah,
it ruptured my uh, what's a little sac inside the knee,
burser.
bursa. Yeah, ruptured
Yeah,
a bursa. I blocked a shot. So at least now with the blocking the shots, those shin pads are so good you hardly feel it. But
right. And the
or
pants
you get it in
pants
the
are good.
laces.
And
Even now, getting it in the laces,
yeah,
that hurts. I know the Flames used to mandate they had to wear those guards on top. I don't know if they still do. It depends who the coaches are, because they were
yeah,
getting too many people injured, breaking feet, or getting their feet
yep,
hurt.
yep. That's a problem. These new skates yeah. You can I think you can get a piece to put in under the laces that'll give you some protection. But I remember getting hit with a slap shot on my instep, inside of my foot, and I couldn't walk for a couple days. I mean, it was so
Oh yeah.
painful. One of my own players too. He just during practice, he took a slap shot and hit me right in there, and I was like, oh God.
Well, I got hit. I got hit. I'm on the ice with one guy, and I'm stepping off the ice. I got one foot in the bench, and he takes a slap shot. And because my leg is kind of extended, he hits right under the pad above the skate,
Okay.
and right over that bump, and he cracked my ankle. And it was the start of the summer,
Oh gosh.
and I was going to Finland to be the head instructor in Viramäki at the hockey school. But I could skate, once you got your skate on, but had a heck of a time walking. But they had me in a cabin quite far from the rink, and I told them, "You guys got to get me a bike to get to the rink. Once I get the skate on, I'm gonna be okay." But right at the start, so I'm there and I can't golf or anything. And there's a 27-hole golf course there and everything
Yeah.
because he dinged me.
These,
Anyways,
these injuries are a problem. It's tough. Guys, I got to run. I got to make some phone calls to rearrange my schedule for the surgery next week. So,
well, good luck with that gallbladder, eh? Geez,
yeah,
it's an awful thing, that's for sure.
yeah.
After
So,
yourself
thank
out.
you. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week. See you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
Tom,
yeah. I've come that we just use pucks blocking shots
no,
because I'm worried about the getting in the line first.
no. I guess today the most important thing is to get into the shooting lane and make yourself big. That's what I've been taught. And Bjorn Kindig, he says that never block shots. You're going to break an ankle or break a wrist. And I said, well, in Canada, we block shots. So I know that the methodology we used to practice at shooting pucks hard. Now we're shooting tennis balls. But the important thing is that high forward gets out to the shooting lane.
Yeah,
And I think
you got to get in the shooting lane right away, then go out.
yeah, they're
I
doing
watched Canada's under 17 team and Mount Royal both practicing that.
now.
To get in the shooting lane first and then go out. because I never used to teach that before. You had them.
Yeah.
It,
Well,
it makes sense.
when you go out, instead of put your stick like a goalie and put your elbows out, you look big, they
Yeah.
won't shoot. So that's a subtle little visual thing that works pretty well for people covering the point shots. And now they're getting smarter just getting the puck through than they used to blast and blast. And I don't think it's a problem anymore. But, Tom, I wanted to get back to uh, the preparing for the season. And you haven't picked your team yet, but you seem to have a pretty good routine for getting your team play and your tactics in place. And I would like to share this story. Um, when I coached the Canucks, I took them over after 6 weeks. The first thing I did was a defensive zone walkthrough. And it's Billy Moore's magic puck walkthrough. And that was all I did, really. I never did anything on forecheck or formalized anything. I just did the D zone walkthrough. And um, the players years later talked to me about it was so much fun not to be overcoached. Just give them a simple picture and let them play it. And that's where the man on box behind and finish your check. And we didn't get into switching or don't switch. It worked really well. But with the girls, we've got a long time before we play competitive games. So when you pick your team, what's the first thing you're thinking of doing on the ice?
Well, on the ice, uh, first, before going on the ice, Jim and I both talked about it. We'll go to our rink right down from my house, outdoor rink, because you can talk in an outdoor rink, people can hear you,
Yeah.
and walk through it on the outdoor rink. And then on the ice, I like to start with the thing. Gene Riley did it in Salzburg, where you point and everybody skates, where they should be in the D zone. There's no puck they just skate to those areas.
Yeah,
So you got the man on box behind.
Yeah.
And what I like to do, what I started to do, and he didn't do this, they leave from the red line and they skate back in front because that's what everybody does now, and form a 2-1-2 in front of the net.
Yeah.
And then you point, and from there they go, one corner, the other corner,
Yeah.
then the center or the low forward to do the hash marks, and then the point, so that they do that, and then the next group goes through. So they kind of walk through it, and and then maybe do some stuff that they come back in the zone. You do it for 10 seconds with them, one corner, then the other corner, and then they do something else besides that.
Yeah.
And but we don't beat it to death.
Yeah.
We just, so they know and I go through it with my magnetic board, and I'll make sure there's no wasps this time.
Yeah.
And I also send them now, it's the video age. I'll send them some video with description of it.
Yeah. One of the things George Kingston did on the ice at the end of practice on the Thursday before Friday weekend games.
Yeah.
His last drill was sort of a 5-player attack. And then they would have to back check into D zone position. And the coach would be in one corner or the other corner.
Yeah.
But the idea of attacking 5 people on the whistle, everybody comes back hard to D zone, and that's all he did. And we really collapsed well in the D zone. We covered crowded the area so pucks couldn't get through to the slot. And it
Willie did that too when I was with, probably picked up from George.
yeah,
And then Tim Bothwell, they call it the Webby pregame,
yeah,
always Thursday night before.
yeah,
So that exact thing.
yeah. At the Alberta camps, U15 and U18, when I was a sort of a mentor, I had all the players go outside, or we would go in a gym and do the D zone walkthrough,
Yeah,
and we would also do the forecheck mirror,
yeah.
where the claw and the first guy would be the F1 and steer, and the other two wingers would have width and depth and mirror, and so would the D, cutting the ice in half. And if the puck went D to D, there's no puck, but you say D to D, it's on the other side. That's when the high forward now might become F1. And that's all we did is figure it out, figure it out. But they got
Well, Crash used to have a little rink. Like they don't, like they moved facilities, but there was about a quarter size rink that was great for that kind of stuff. And we did our dry land there,
yeah.
and that was terrific for that team play stuff. But
Were you
that's why
able?
we go to the outdoor rink instead, just to
Yeah.
so they can hear you.
Well, I just think the coaches that are listening, don't be afraid to go to an outdoor rink or find a space.
Parking lots are good too, or even fields.
Tennis courts are perfect too.
Yeah,
I found at the Alberta zone team, we're practicing usually on a campus. They have tennis courts, and we did and I have a video of the D zone walkthrough with U18 girls. Howie Draper was the coach, and I ran through the walkthrough. And of course, he played for Claire Drake, who was the absolute expert on D zone covers. So um, there's so much out there if coaches want to find out about how to tighten things up and play tight in their zone. But to me, when you begin the season and you don't beat it to death, but you have to teach your D zone cover it's the first thing you cover. And then you might cover forecheck. And all I do is, boy, I used to do the walkthrough. Now I don't. I just hold my hand up and say, it's a 1-2-2 and pressure that puck. But if you're attacking, it's going to be a 2-1-2 because you've got two players driving the net. So you maintain the pressure after a shot. And it's that simple. The more you simplify it, the better it will be.
well, what Eric Westerland said, it's all depends on F1.
Yeah.
So if F1 can make contact, then you're using a 2-1-2. If F1 can't make contact, then the D's got their skates up ice. No use going in hard because one pass is going to be two players.
Yeah.
So then you have to contain more. And that's basically what the read is if if you got pressure on that first player, then you really close the gap on them. But and I did a little offensive coaching. I'm trying to figure out how to get the girls to score more goals. Okay. So in one of the sessions I did this week, I said it's all about the triangular attack, just like they talked about in basketball. It's a triangle. So I showed them, I said, that L, the traditional, with F2 going to the net, F3 trailing. I said, that's one triangle. Another triangle is a middle drive, players going right to the net. The other two are behind, so the triangle is like a wedge. And then the other triangle is, and Gretzky did this all the time, you cross the blue line. If the D gives you a gap, you go into the middle. And now the two other players go to the net. So they head to the net. So there's basically three triangles. And then I'll later say the fourth player fills out to make it a box or a diamond.
Yeah.
So on the traditional one, whoever the fourth player is comes up on the weak side. And for the one when they're going to the net, the middle drive, the fourth player comes atop to make it a diamond. So this is a concept I'm working on how to do that, to teach, the attack. And anyways, I think it'll probably work. But it's funny, we're doing the Carolina, the 2-0, 3-0 the other day.
Yeah.
And Jim talked to them about I want at least 3-4 passes on the way down the ice.
Yeah.
And two of the players, they got the first pass, so it's pretty early, right? We're getting the first pass by the red line. They skated all the way down the ice and took a shot. And you're saying, because it was a passing drill.
Yeah.
So they're going to be 1-on-5ers.
Yeah. Well, that's typical. They get the puck and go as far as they can, but the U13 group we've got trying out right now, their eyes are up. But the more games they're playing, the poorer they're playing. Their first ice time was small area games. And they showed hockey IQ in the small area games that we pray for. But now that they've scrimmaged with 5 people, it's almost like, well, stay on your wing or play your position. And they're thinking, they're not reacting to the situation and the play that you do in small area games. So I'm more convinced now, watching everything over the last 3 years, small area games will teach hockey sense. And when you add your rules and constraints and jokers, it helps them learn to think the game. And that's one of the places that I think all of our coaches, they don't appreciate the hockey IQ sense. It's sort of like back in our day, they said you couldn't teach it.
Well, now they're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hockey.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the breakouts, the D in the middle in front of the net's getting the pass, and they're one of the 3 attackers. Or like they'll be number 2 on the attack.
Yep.
So today's game is, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you see 3 in front of you, then you can be 4th or 5th, but you can't be up there playing like number 2 and saying, well, D shouldn't be on my left wing, so I'm going there too.
How do you feel about your U15 girls last year? Did they pick up on that?
I thought they did it pretty good. Just the closest player go, and that's how we taught it. Just we just said it, F3 is really critical. F3 can't go in there and join the forecheck if F1 and 2 are there.
No.
And yeah, I thought team play wise, I mean, that's basically how we ended up going to the provincials. I mean, we won our last 2 games 2-1.
Yeah.
And the defense is something you can teach, right?
Yeah.
Offensive reads and all that are a little more difficult. And some players really caught on to it.
Yeah.
But so, some got that 1-on-5 philosophy, and the one girl that left, it was really hard to anything but the 1-on-5. And but most of them caught on pretty good, I thought.
Well, Tom, I wrote down some questions because I didn't know where we would go. And I'm going to read one to you, and it's sort of out in left field here. Every coaching clinic I do, I ask the people who are their favorite coaches. Now, when you played, who was your favorite coach and why?
Well, I think I'd have to say Bob Peters and Bemidji. First of all, we didn't get a whole lot of coaching when I was growing up. Like I've told you the story of how we played junior, and our owner and our coach, and this is in junior A, would go and polish off a bottle of whiskey while we played games to 5, and then the coach would stagger onto the ice and bag skate us. So there wasn't much coaching there. But Peters, we played really simply, like we're talking about. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our D was up on the play all the time. Two of them played on that Olympic silver medal U.S. team.
Yeah.
But he started, and people would say, never talk about winning. He talked about winning day one. This is why we're here. This is why we're here, and this is what we do to do it. And his mantra was, we are going to work harder than everybody because we do work harder. So we weren't allowed on the ice till almost the end of football season. So we do the off ice, and nobody else did off ice. Right? We'd be in the field doing the football field doing wind sprints and all this kind of stuff. And then before my first year there, before I got on the ice, we had to run around the lake, which was 10 miles. And then the next year he went to 20. I thought was a little extreme because guys weren't running in those days. But I remember that the guy that was the all-time, he set a new record for scoring the year before I got there. And his friends came by in a truck and said, well, jump in, we'll drive you a few miles. So he did. I never saw the guy play. The coach heard that, and he never played. And he was the top scorer. So there was a culture there that there was no shortcuts. And Monday, Tuesday practices, like our practices were not very creative. It's almost the same Monday practice, same Tuesday practice. But we skated for half an hour at the end of Monday and Tuesday. You could hardly even stand up. But I remember skating with U of C, and guys almost made deals. Well, don't go too hard, you make me look bad. We would race each other during these bag skates. I mean, we'd try to be that was such a difference. And we just played way faster than everybody. And our rule was, if you're open, you hit that red line. If you're open, you break, and the guy with the puck you only broke if it was possible for him. The guy has to get you the puck. So there was nobody standing still at the blue line waiting for the puck carrier to try to go 1-on-5. So all those things were really clear in everybody's mind. And I think every time we scored, we knew why we scored. And every time we got scored on, we knew why we got scored on. There was that much clarity. And that's the only team I've played for that was even close to that. And, the guy won 13 national championships, I think. And he was special. And he was the best one-liner. Like he was a funny guy. He could sum up everything in one line.
Did you think of one of his one-liners?
Oh, I got to think for a while. Well, I remember one time Denny Lemieux and I come back, and Denny's a farmer, and I worked on the golf course. So we had the farmer tans, eh? And we took off our shirts, and of course we're just white as can be under the t-shirts.
Yeah.
He walked up to us and said, did you guys spend the summer in a flour sack? So, oh yeah, and another time they're having the banquet. We're in Lake Superior State was hosting the Nationals. Yeah. So we're in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And the banquet's everybody's talking about, well, everybody play well and blah, blah, blah. And he gets up there in his talk. He says, I came here for the whole apple, not the applesauce. Just telling everybody we were there to win, not to, so it was very clear why we did everything. And if we didn't do it, we weren't going to accomplish what our goal was. And the first 34 games I played there, we won. And our team is in their Hall of Fame. Like it was over 2 seasons. I couldn't play till after Christmas because I'd gone to Mount Royal.
Yeah.
And the first 34 games, and the game 33 and 34 were against University of Calgary. And I knew them all. So I remember we won 4-1, and they said, well, we were drinking beer the night before, and the next game we beat them 6-1. And then we went to North Dakota the next weekend, and 1,500 fans from Bemidji traveled to watch the game. And they beat us game 1, and then we beat them game 2. And I remember Glenn Beckett got a hat trick each game, eh? But anyways, but that was, and who wins 34 games? I mean, it was just, you were never not ready to play. And that was his art, is getting you ready to play.
It sounds amazing. It's almost too good to be true. I can't say that's a whole package of a coach.
Yeah.
And he wasn't brilliant in X's and O's. He was brilliant in simplifying it.
He'd gone to a clinic, he said, with Toe Blake, and that wasn't very common then, eh?
Yeah.
And we played the Montreal Canadian style.
Yeah.
But the only time he really lost it on us, we were playing a pretty weak team, and we're winning like about 6-0 after 2, but now we're dogging it out there and all that. And he came in and he just ripped us. And he wore one of those fedoras guys used to wear.
Yeah.
And he throws the fedora on the ice and he jumps on it. And he said, it's only in the Bible you let a guy up when he's down. You guys, we're trying to win the national championship. We're trying to do this.
He knew when to press buttons, eh?
And the poor other team, we scored 10 goals in the third. But
Tom, you've grown up and coached many years. And right now I call you the hockey IQ coach. And Peters wasn't a hockey IQ coach. Yet he had success. And now you're doing what you do the way you do it. How do you evolve as a coach?
well, the biggest thing that happened is when George brought Johanni, and Johanni was like, he's like Gordie Howe of Finland at that time. He'd been captain of their team, played 3 Olympics, led the league in scoring, everything like that. So played 1 year in Austria and led that league in scoring. So he came and I was coaching the state college men at the time. And we had the same philosophy about using games and all this, but I'd never heard the modified rules and all this kind of stuff. Like he was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're there with a guy that's a legend. He speaks 5 languages. And I remember, like, he gave the class, but one time we go on the ice and he skates behind the net doing the mohawk. I'm in front. He puts it from behind the net over the goalie right on my stick. I said, holy jeez. And, and for some reason, he really took a liking to me and he started bringing me there. And of course, right away, I meet Yursinov and he has me as a guest coach. And I did what you did when at the hotel one time, we developed a way to teach body checking.
Yeah.
Starting off with bumping each other. And I did that with a pro team TPS. I mean, Hannu Virta, Mikko Makala, Saku Koivu, they're all on the ice. And I did that with those guys. And I think Kiprasov was the young goalie. But I'll tell you, I was amazed. I didn't know anything about Finnish hockey. So I step on the ice there. And these guys are just flying on the warm-up. And they're passing to each other up across the ice. And the puck isn't even, it's just flat. And they're dropping that. I said, holy jeez, these guys are good. And so I got to meet all these people, but Johanni and he made everything difficult simple. That I just think that he was absolutely brilliant. And and that's why our book, it's going to be pretty soon. You can get it as an ebook.
No.
Because I just want it to be available there because it's, 90% of the book is his wisdom. I do some technical, tactical stuff and all that, but his stuff about how you use games and tournaments, nobody does that, eh? Like you have a tournament in your practice and stuff like this, and stuff that still people don't do that would be better if they did do it, you know.
How do you blend that kind of coaching with your coach in Bemidji? Like, how would you do a bit of each? Is it possible?
I think because you're coaching young kids, so they don't really know about D zone and all that kind of stuff, right? So you go over that, but I think the theme is that you just go and do your best every shift you can. And the only time I ever bench anybody is if we bench one girl last year in our first tournament. She was taking 3 penalties a game that were just ridiculous. Just hitting people when it's, you know, so that or, basically everybody plays. Like in Bemidji, he tried to play everybody. I started off as a penalty killer. In those days, like he had 2 players that killed penalties, and he'd spot me in, playing on the 5-on-5 sometime. But I felt a big part of the team, and I think that that's important to do. Is you do that, and you try to make it so everybody's clear on everything, and you're just talking about work ethic more than you are about technical, tactical stuff, unless it just really needs addressing, right?
No,
I don't know if that answers your question.
no, it does. I'm looking at girls hockey Calgary and what coaches achieve the most success. And, just thinking of your Bemidji coach, it sounds like, well, Kyle Wanvig drives him, drives harder than any coach. Like every drill is like full speed. And he's pushing them and pushing them at U13. And the parents might not like it at U15, but the ability to be pushed and realize that the coach has the team's best interests at heart, like that would be the scariest thing for me is how that coach in Bemidji had you run 10 kilometers or miles. And on the Monday and Tuesday practices, he didn't change much. They were bag skates. Is that right?
Oh yeah, we skated, could hardly stand up at the end,
Yeah.
but we all knew why. There was no doubt in our mind. We weren't cursing the coach. We are just saying, if we're going to meet the goals we're here for, this is what we do. And myself, I think it would have been better just to do it on Monday, because I remember sometimes I was tired, more tired than I should be,
Yeah.
because it absolutely drained every bit of glycogen you had in you, kind of. But it was more a mental thing than anything.
Yeah.
Is more, you were actually like his thing is, you line up on the face off and you look at that guy across from you, said, you didn't run 10 miles before the year. So your job was to beat that guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the Sutter brothers always said. Their dad told them. He says, you go out there and you beat the person that you're competing against.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do as a player, right?
Yeah.
Is you go out and you win your battles.
Well, I talked to Craig a lot about what different coaches do. And I tell him this, and Kyle he works them really hard, but he has to do more of what you do. And somehow you have to do more of what he does. I think that's going to push the players to another level because both Kyle and the double A coach that you coach against, they've worked their players harder than any other coaches in the system. They don't.
Well, I coached against that guy in AAA too,
Yeah,
and all through, I think 1 year his team has beat ours,
yeah,
and they never outwork us.
yeah.
So
So you feel your team works hard enough right now, practicing the way you're practicing.
we of course we do, and we do some really hard things.
Yeah,
Like you those transition games,
yeah,
or that drill where it's one on one, and then you have to the D joins the next rush and the forward back checks, and you go up to 2-on-2, 3-on-2.
yeah,
Players, it's not mindless bag skating. You're skating like crazy and you keep score.
yeah.
You're skating harder than you would in a skating drill. And in this conditioning camp, I've done a little skating at the end of each practice because it's a conditioning camp.
Yeah,
But I'd rather do it within, because we only have 2 practices a week.
yeah,
I'd rather do it within a hockey context.
yeah.
Like it's different in college. When I had 4 practices a week, we would have conditioning skates.
Yeah.
But you got 2 practices a week, you know.
Good point, Tom. I'm glad you made it because I'm sort of sitting here scratching my head and I'm watching, I didn't really think of the complexity and battle nature of your drill is conditioning. And they got to push each other and compete against each other. And
And it's real hockey skating too.
yeah,
Skating straight lines isn't real hockey skating.
yeah. When I coached the Oval team, and you've coached them too, and they were having a la di da practice, so. They weren't working hard, they weren't focused. So I thought I have to do something, and I could have skated them, but instead I had them do 1-versus-1 races at each end with a puck, ending up with a shot. So I had them start at the blue line, go around the dot, tight turns, and face off dot, tight turns, get to the puck and shoot, or stop and start, or transition skate. But they were going balls out because they were going against somebody. And they didn't want to embarrass each other. So they pushed each other. And that's the thing that I found is that battle mentality when they're not working hard or just going through the motions. Uh, I just found that seemed to work because I never really ever bag skated the team. I was like you. I just wanted to run drills that were high tempo, but I sure didn't run drills that were as game like as your drills. How did the Russian drill go last night? And can you explain it for our audience? Because basically it's scrimmage. But
It's we call it the Russian script. I picked it up from Brent DeVoe, the guy that started the Edge School,
yeah,
and he played in the line with Bill Peters in college, and I think a lot of the stuff he does he picked up from Bill Peters. But it's both teams are on the bench. We had 12. Well, last time it was 11, one group was 11, one was 12 in each bench. So I blow the whistle so many times, and that many players jump out, and I try to make it so every 3 times I've gone through how many players are on the bench. So if I blow it, tweet, tweet, 2 players on each jump out. And then when I blow, and I have them, I count 40 seconds about, and if someone's got a breakaway, I let them finish it, but I blow it again, and maybe I'll go 4 times, and 4 players jump out. And you do this flow, and I try to make it that every 3 times all players have got a shift,
No.
and we keep score, and they fly out of the bench, and it's a good high tempo game. And then the night before we did the power play scrimmage, and that's another one I picked up from Brent. And so there's 2 teams, a white and the dark. So at the first, the white gets the power play. So it starts off with a 1-on-1, and we only go about 30 seconds on that one because they're 1-on-1. And then 2-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-4, 5-on-5. Keep score. The other team gets a power play, and they do the same thing.
No.
And the players keep track of it.
No.
And it's really good because you can see how they fly out of the bench. No one's just stepping out of the bench.
No.
They're just flying out of the bench. And it's a good little, they play all situations, and, they get to play and do that. It takes about, that one there, it takes about, I think, about 12 minutes to get through the whole sequence.
No. The only thing I did that's not nearly as good as what you've done, a 2 versus 2 scrimmage, 20-second shifts, and your feet have to keep moving. There's no gliding. It's very fast. If there's gliding, now after 20 seconds, you have to change, but you must sprint off the ice and then on the ice. If they don't sprint, you blow the whistle, everybody lines up on the wall and does an over and back, because the sprinting to change is so critical. And that's one drill. When I went around to different college teams, I shared with coaches. Quite a few of them picked up on it, because even though it's 2-on-2, it's all out 20-second shifts with all out proper changes. And you know how many coaches in the goals in the NHL are a product of bad changes.
Yeah.
I don't think there's that many goals in your league on bad changes. Is there?
I don't really know. I know the one thing that gets some goals for is a player coming off the bench and nobody saw them on the initial rush, right? And
Yeah.
they come into the play, and they appear and nobody saw them. So the changes, but you can really tell if a team's into the game or not, if they're bad changes. I remember the Flames playoffs about 5 years ago, and like 3 players changed on a 5-on-5 rush. It ended up being 5-on-2.
Yeah.
And that's just players not, they weren't really into the game.
Yeah.
And I remember I took a video of their practice before that, and you were watching it with me, and they're just half-assing it so much. And I think you said, well, they're not going to win the next game, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So if players aren't ready, doesn't matter what you do. But I think a sequence that I'd like to share is that to get players to look around, you have to do it. You so said all the time, you make rules that cause things to happen. So a little sequence I like to do is you play full ice, but you make the rule there has to be at least one pass in each zone. Now that causes the player with the puck to look,
No.
and it causes people to get open, because you actually have a chance of getting a pass.
No.
And you make it, and if you pass from the D zone into the neutral zone, that player has to make a pass. And that's the first step I do to get them, to look around. And then I might go a 3-second game that you can only carry the puck for 3 seconds. And we do it down to 2 seconds. And those things seem to be really, in all my experimenting with different things, the most effective things about players moving the puck. And then you can do half ice games where, you know, everybody has to touch the puck before you can score. Or Court Dunn had this one really good rule. You're playing, but you once you score a goal, you can't score until the rest of your team has scored. So, those kind of rules.
Oh boy, terrific. Listen, I'm going to share with you a similar drill. Austin did it with his U18, and the players showed so much hockey IQ. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. But it's a warm-up game. Picture this, Tom. You've got one team, they're all one color, the other team's all one color, and it's 3 versus 3 in each zone, and you're scrimmaging in each zone. Oh, pardon me, you're scrimmaging with one puck. So in one zone, you're defending, in the other neutral zone, you're getting open and moving the puck to the offensive zone. And after about 5 minutes, they change zones. So they get to play in defensive zone, neutral zone, or the offensive zone. Man alive, do they have to get their heads up? Because they're locked into that zone and they got to pass into the next zone. And
So there's 6 players in each zone.
6 in each zone,
Okay.
one puck. And when you see the 3 blacks get it, and the black gets it, and he's looking, the blacks are getting open in the other zone.
Yeah.
They're all jumping to get open because that's the rule. They've got to get a pass.
Well, that's a good one. I've never seen that one before.
It's worth trying, I'll tell you, because
Put
everybody.
that into my toolbox.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was amazed at how smart they looked. I told him after the drill, I says, my God, I can't believe how smart they were. Their
Yeah.
heads were up. They looked, they made the plays, but the game forced them to do that.
Yeah.
When you got a 3-pass rule or a 2-pass rule, this puts it into the context of a whole game, every zone, moving the puck up the ice. I'm going to have to diagram that one and send it out, but it's something worth trying. So you might draw it up and do it and record it for yourself. I'd sure like to share it with all the coaches because it's the type of thing that complements what you're doing.
Yeah, well, that'd be good. And when we have 18 players once we pick our team.
Yeah.
So that is a good one.
Yeah. Anyway, Tom, I want to thank you for coming on. If you talk to Richie, twist his arm about coming on.
Yeah. Well, I talked to him on Tuesday Hockey. I said that I'd given you his contact and
I've
said,
got it. I'm still going to tell him Wally's going to be on you. You got to come on. He's going to bug you. And
yeah, well, I mean, he played world hockey. He played NHL. He coached with all the Sutters, and he coached with Mike Keenan. Coached in the Stanley Cup Finals. He played. He was an MVP in the last AFCO Cup.
yeah.
He's done everything he can do as far as high level hockey and around professional athletes his whole life because his dad was the GM of the Riders and they're like gods in Saskatchewan, as you know, because that's where you're from.
Yeah.
He
had the best sense.
He was a water boy.
And he had a sense of humor like nobody.
Oh, he's one of the nicest fellas I've met in hockey.
Yeah. Okay, that's going to be our goal. Is getting him on